The forest was silent beneath the silver moonlight. Snow blanketed the world in a quiet glow, and from a distance came a long, haunting howl, deep, lonely, echoing across the frozen pines. It was a wolf's call, filled with hunger and sorrow. The young grey wolf, named Kale, had been alone for days. His pack had been scattered after a brutal storm, and food was scarce. Every rustle in the forest made him tense, prey or predator. High above the forest, a raven circled, sharp-eyed, clever, watching everything below. Her name was Nara, and unlike other birds, she didn't fear the wolf. In fact, she was curious. That night, Kale stumbled upon the carcass of a deer, half buried in the snow. He sniffed it, cautious, then a sharp caw broke the silence. Kale growled softly, "Stay away, mine." But Nara tilted her head, unafraid. "You didn't kill it, did you?" she seemed to say, in her own language of clicks and calls. Then she pointed her beak toward the north, where the scent of fresher meat drifted faintly on the wind. Kale paused. Was this bird helping him? Driven by desperation, he followed her lead. They traveled through frozen mist and broken trees until they reached the remains of another kill, a stag recently taken by the cold. Kale feasted, while Nara picked at the scraps. When Kale finished, he looked up. The raven still waited, perched silently above him. For the first time in days, the wolf didn't feel alone. He raised his head toward the sky and howled again, but this time, it wasn't lonely. It was a song of gratitude. And from above, Nara answered with a proud, echoing caw. Days turned into weeks. Kale and Nara became inseparable. Wherever the wolf went, the raven followed, a shadow in the sky above a shadow on the ground. They learned to trust each other's instincts. When Kale stalked elk through the snow, Nara would circle ahead, alerting him if danger lurked nearby. But one morning, the forest began to change. The wind howled with warning, colder and stronger than before. A blizzard was coming, one that could bury everything alive. Kale sensed it first. He lifted his head, sniffed the air, and growled. Nara cawed sharply, circling anxiously. They both knew, to survive, they had to find shelter. The snow fell heavier by the minute. Kale pushed through the wind, his paws sinking deep. Kale barked through the storm, though she couldn't understand the words, only the urgency. Hours passed. Kale's fur was coated in ice. Then, through the blinding snow, Nara spotted a cave, small, dark, and hidden beneath a ridge. Kale followed the sound of her cry, collapsing inside just as the storm swallowed the world outside. Inside, Kale panted, his breath clouding the air. Nara landed beside him, her feathers slick with frost. She hopped close, pressing herself against his side for warmth. Through the howling wind, the two survivors waited, a wolf and a raven, breathing in rhythm, hearts beating together against the storm's fury. The raven blinked once, then closed her eyes. Outside, the forest vanished under white silence. But inside that cave, a new kind of bond was born, not of blood, but of survival. Kale padded silently through the dew-soaked grass, nose twitching as he followed the faint scent of deer become his eyes in the sky, a messenger of the winds, a watcher of every danger. Where one went, the other followed. But even the forest, beautiful as it was, hid dangers of its own. Not his pack. He froze, muscles coiled, scanning the trees. Then, from the shadows, three figures emerged, wolves scarred and gaunt, eyes burning with hunger and hate. Kale's ears flattened. He recognized them, remnants of his old pack. They had exiled him seasons ago when he was weak, too slow to hunt. Their leader, a black wolf named Torin, stepped forward, lips curling back. The lone wolf who lived on scraps and pity. Kale stood firm. Torin glanced up and snarled, "Even now, you hide behind a bird." The first attack came fast, a blur of fur and teeth. Kale dodged, slammed one wolf to the ground, but another lunged from behind, biting deep into his shoulder, striking the attacker's face with her beak, clawing at his eyes. Kale used the moment to break free. He swung his body, biting hard into his enemy's neck. Pain seared his body, but rage kept him standing. The fight became chaos, snarls, cries, and the beating of wings. The river churned red as claws tore through the air. Nara darted low, catching one wolf's ear, distracting them long enough for Kale to pin the second to the ground. With a furious snarl, he pushed the rival into the river, its yelps drowned by the rushing water. Torin leapt next, massive and merciless. He thought of the nights Nara had guarded him from the cold, the time she had led him to food, the storm they had survived. With a roar that echoed through the valley, Kale lunged and drove Torin back, his chest heaving. The wounds burned, blood dripped freely, but he was alive. She croaked softly, a sound that carried warmth. Kale looked up at her, golden eyes weary but calm. "We did it," he murmured, voice hoarse. Together, they stood over the quiet battlefield, two survivors bound not by blood, but by a promise written in struggle and trust. That night, under a sky dusted with stars, Kale lay by the riverbank while Nara perched beside him. The moonlight bathed their scars in silver. Neither spoke, yet they understood everything. In the silence, their bond became unbreakable. The seasons turned like pages in an endless book. Spring brought new life, summer burned with warmth, and autumn painted the forest in golden fire. Kale and Nara had seen it all. Together, they roamed valleys, crossed rivers, and climbed ridges where clouds kissed the peaks. The wolf no longer hunted alone. The raven always guided him, showing the safest paths and warning of storms. In return, Kale guarded her fiercely, chasing away hawks that dared fly too close. But time, even for legends, moves forward. Kale's muzzle had grown grey, his pace slower. The forest he once ruled now echoed with the steps of younger wolves. Yet his spirit remained wild, untamed. One crisp dawn, mist coiled through the trees like ghostly ribbons. Kale stood atop a cliff overlooking the valley, his valley. Below, the forest stretched endlessly, alive with the whispers of wind and life. Nara perched on a branch above him, feathers catching the faint sunlight. She croaked softly, sensing something heavy in the air. "It's been a good life," his gaze said. The raven fluttered down, landing beside him. She tilted her head, studying him carefully, as if refusing to believe what the forest already knew. His breath came slower, softer. Around them, the world was still. A deer stepped out of the fog, watching silently. The wind carried no sound but the rustle of leaves. Nara hopped closer, pressing her head against his fur. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Nara didn't move. She stayed beside him, her wings drooping, her voice silent. Hours passed. Then, as dusk began to fall, she spread her wings wide. With a powerful leap, she soared into the fading light. She circled above the forest, once, twice, 3 times, crying out in a sound that broke hearts and echoed across the valley. It was not a call of grief, but of memory. As the stars awakened, the wind carried her cry far and wide. And somewhere deep in the woods, a young wolf lifted its head, hearing that sound for the first time. It howled in return, a new voice joining an ancient song. The circle continued. Nara disappeared beyond the mountains, her silhouette swallowed by the horizon. Some say she still flies at night, guarding the forest that raised them both. Others whisper that when the moon is high and the mist is thick, a ghostly wolf walks beside her in the sky, his howl mingling with her call. Together, forever, they roam, the spirit of the howl and the wing.